Sonic and racing games have been pretty good, for the most part. But there hasn't been any racing game like Sonic R. You know, the astonishing music album that includes a free game? It's undeniable the charm this game has. The visuals are so cheerful. The level design is so unique. Sometimes. It's like a mix of a platformer / racing game. Although Sonic R doesn't have the best reputation online, I believe it's one of the most ambitious and unique racing games in the series.
And if you disagree, that's what I thought.
And although everybody at least heard of Sonic R, what exactly do I mean by beating it 100%? Well, Sonic R has 5 courses, all beginning with the letter R, mind you. In 4 of them, we can unlock secret characters corresponding to each course. These characters can only be unlocked by collecting 5 tokens that are hidden throughout the race and then winning their respective challenge. The last collectibles are the Chaos Emeralds, which unlock Super Sonic at the end of the game. Now that we know how to 100% Sonic R, I ask myself a simple question. Is it possible to 100% Sonic R with only Amy without her boost? The rules are quite simple. First, I must beat all the courses with only Amy without utilizing her boost. Amy is the only character who drives in a vehicle because her legs are glued to it. She has the lowest speed in the game, cannot jump but can hover over water at a mediocre speed. Her only redeemable quality is her boost, which lets her close gaps pretty easily, and we're taking it away from her. Without her main ability, she's easily the worst character in the game, bar none. Not as bad as Egg Robo though. Secondly, we must collect all the Chaos Emeralds and tokens in one go. For instance, if we collect everything but we end up in second place, that's a restart. If we get first place but lose against an unlockable character, another restart. You see, in most Sonic R challenge videos, they collect both Chaos Emeralds and tokens in 2 different attempts, namely because it's hard as and requires a ton of luck. This singular rule changes everything. This not only forced me to create unique pathings and strategies, but also to exploit certain mechanics I would never thought of. Our next rule is no weather changes, so we can change it to snowy to gain an advantage. Plus, no out-of-bounds strategies. For context, this game is very quirky. In most tracks, we can simply clip through walls and win easily without having to actually play the game. This is because Sega gave the developers such a short time to make the game. A trend we'll definitely not see down the line. And the cherry on top, the game is set to hard mode. With all that said, let's see if this challenge is even possible, beginning with Resort Island. And so we begin.
Ready, set, go!
Obviously, we don't catch up. However, notice how they slow down if you are far away from them? This is called rubber banding. Rubber banding is a core mechanic in most racing games. Essentially, the further away we are from the CPUs, the more the AI slows down. Conversely, if you are far ahead of them, they'll go full speed. And we're gonna push this mechanic to its absolute limits. You see, the tracks are designed in such a way that we can create our own shortcuts, besides clipping through walls, but don't look at that. And although the AI takes most shortcuts, they cannot go through these made-up shortcuts. But let's keep going. The layout of Resort Island is pretty straightforward. Our 5 tokens are spread in a way that we can follow a normal path to get all of them. But what about the Chaos Emerald? We need 50 rings to unlock the gate, and in our path, we don't get a lot of them. Well, let me introduce you to our new friend, the Iron Panel. The Iron Panel randomly gives us up to 20 rings, a speed boost, an electric shield, or a water shield. Since Amy cannot get the last 2, we are left with 4 options. Not only can we gamble to infinity, but it also makes this challenge possible. Though, pretty much like gambling, you're gonna lose most runs because you just got unlucky. So much fun. But with a bit of luck, we can get all the goodies in one go. From there, it's going through the water, through the forest, and that's pretty much it. Nothing fancy for level 1 since every collectible is in our face. Now, what about our boy Metal Sonic? Well, you don't wanna know. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, he's pretty much impossible to beat. Not only does he take all the shortcuts 99% of the time, but the rubber banding mechanic we talked about earlier doesn't affect him as much. Cause he's fast as he wants to win by any means necessary. I tried pretty much everything you can think of. Going normally doesn't do much. Slowing down at the beginning doesn't help either. And after 2 hours of attempts, I was tempted to just use the out of bounds strategy. But I didn't wanna cheese him like that. I wanted to win fair and square. And after multiple attempts of just brute forcing my way to it, it happened? Metal Sonic accidentally hit the sign while going for the shortcut, and that forced him into the loop. I'm actually speechless. But a win is a win, and I'll take it. Let's see if this streak of luck continues in our next track. One thing I learned right away is that Radical City does not mess around. The layout is like this, and like last time, we have 5 tokens located in different paths. Not only that, but this time we got 2 Chaos Emeralds to collect. My first strategy was essentially getting rid of these 2 tokens ASAP, so I made my route with that in mind. In my first lap, I grabbed the first token next to the main path, the Chaos Emerald, and the third token in the final shortcut. In the second lap, I grabbed both Chaos Emeralds and token at the beginning, and the 1 token at the pinball area. Finally, the last lap was essentially getting the last token. There we go. And the results were better than expected. Although I ended in second place, it was a lot closer than I anticipated. And I knew that with a bit of luck, it could actually be possible. Unfortunately, spamming retries until I got a lucky run wasn't enough. I had to make some slight adjustments. For the first token, we can take advantage of the funky platform hitbox right here and land almost directly into it. Pretty satisfying to do as well. Then, if I miss some rings or I don't get lucky with the item panel, I just hit restart. I really don't wanna gamble if I'll be able to grab it next lap and end in first place. Now, something I haven't talked about yet is this accelerator. Upon touching it, you'll be sent flying depending on how many rings you're holding. Essentially, the more rings you have, the farther the distance the accelerator sends you. This, however, creates another problem. Not only do we have to hold 50 rings on the last lap, but we also need luck, since the AI takes this shortcut as well, so it's up to RNG if they collected 50 rings before. This one took a couple of tries, but eventually I got it. Now, Tilsol doesn't give us any trouble, and although I beat him on my first try, he definitely brings back some memories. For me, this video right here scared the f out of me when I was younger. It was really good. Anyways, next up is Regal Ruin. This one, folks, is quite long, so let's just cut to the chase and check out the layout first. The 5 tokens are located in pretty good spots, except one of them, which is accessible by jumping on a spring, which, friendly reminder, Amy can't. But the worst thing about Regal Ruin are the Chaos Emeralds, both of them being a complete headache to get. One requires a bit of maneuver to not fall over, or luck in some cases, and the other by climbing some stairs. To reach a token up the spring, we have to go all the way around and drop down. On this path, we can unlock the 20 ring gate and collect the Chaos Emerald. Now, in the second lap, I thought about getting the rest of the tokens that aren't in the shortcuts. That means the one with the Chaos Emerald at the beginning and the one in the longest path. Lastly, I tried to make the most of Sonic R's design to get to the finish line as soon as possible, and you can clearly see the results. I tried this strategy for a long time, but third place was my best attempt. But maybe like last time, it could be possible if we plan the most efficient route. Instead of going all around to grab the token up the spring, we can turn around mid-air to continue the race. Then, instead of getting the Chaos Emerald and finishing the first lap, I decided to go back to the main long path to collect the token that's far away. Also, for this to be possible, we can't bump against anything. It has to be a perfect run. And Regal Ruin is all about tight turns, so to make the most of them, don't just hold left or right, that won't cut it at all. We have to use the brake buttons with the corresponding movement. And it's also beneficial, since drifting in this game gives you speed instead of slowing you down. Small tweaks here and there, and nothing. Despite my best efforts, I'm still nowhere close to winning. In 2 hours of attempts, my personal best was still third place. I really thought this challenge was impossible. I began questioning if it's even possible to get all the tokens and Chaos Emeralds in one go. If somehow I could get both Chaos Emeralds and 4 tokens in one lap, then we might actually have a chance. And it took me a bit to realize, but the answer was always behind me. The other item panel! If in this item panel I get 20 rings, then I'll be able to get both Chaos Emeralds and 4 tokens in one single lap. And combined with the other small adjustments, I ended up in second place, only a few seconds away from first place. With a bit more luck, it could actually be possible. Unfortunately, I might be cursed or something, because getting 20 rings at the start was the most infuriating thing ever. And even in a perfect scenario where I get everything I want every time, one clumsy mistake or simply bad luck could end the run. It takes a significant amount of finesse and a miracle for the AI to screw up. But once everything just clicked, I was so locked in that I won by a long shot. Like, it wasn't even close. Which brings us to our next challenge. Some people will consider him the worst character in the game. He can't jump, has no speed, no useful ability, no friends, no life, so beating him was a breeze. Something that just rubs me the wrong way is how he takes this shortcut like nothing, when in reality he should sink almost instantly. Anyways, the relief was short-lived, because I knew we had 2 more tracks left, and the next one is just as hard as this one. One thing to note about Reactive Factory is that it's huge, being the longest course to complete. The 5 tokens aren't that bad compared to 5 minutes ago, but the Chaos Emeralds are still our worst enemy. This time, they take their time to drop down, and if this challenge taught me something, it's that every second matters. My original idea was like this: getting the first 2 tokens at the beginning, getting a super plus 20 to get the first Chaos Emerald, grab the token that's up here, collect the last Chaos Emerald, and the last 2 tokens that fortunately are next to each other. And the outcome was not great. The RNG on the iron panels were pissing me the off, because for the life of me I couldn't get 20 rings. And at the same time, the placements of these tokens weren't helping either. So pretty much like Regal Ruin, I started going backwards. But this time, it has a lot more thought behind it. Not only can I get rid of the hardest token ASAP, but most importantly, I started going backwards because of this machine, as it eliminates all the RNG we talked about earlier. I spun a little bit to get some rings and began the race. But then I bit off more than I could chew and decided to grab the Chaos Emerald by the boat. But by that time, I could see Knuckles and Sonic complete the first lap, and I didn't even begin the race properly. I quickly discarded that option and simply stuck to grabbing the token and at least about 40 rings. Since I'll be hitting at least 3 different iron panels, with a bit of luck, I could get both Chaos Emeralds in one single lap. Of course, it took a lot of tries to get a good run going, but I think Regal Ruin helped me a lot, getting me familiarized with Amy's movement. I don't know how to drive in real life, but I think I'm more than capable now. Anyways, Reactive Factory turned out to be not that bad, honestly. If it wasn't for the machine, I don't think it could be possible. I love you, piece of metal. Now, I was at the top of the world. Everything was going smoothly, and we needed one more character to unlock. What could possibly go wrong? Metal Knuckles is like Metal Sonic, but 10 times worse. He takes all the shortcuts almost all the time, doesn't give a damn about rubber banding, and he takes the accelerator pretty much always, which none of my other opponents did as often. However, during my attempts against him, I noticed he struggles just a tiny bit with this shortcut in particular. The shortcut where you turn right after the ramp, and by a bit, I mean every single time. But in the last lap, he doesn't. Here is where I actually end up raging the most at this silly racing game. Do you wanna know how much time it took? 5 hours. 5 hours of retrying over and over again. Keep in mind, I have to beat Reactive Factory first, and that track already takes the longest time to beat. And bad luck could strike, and that meant another retry before I even got a chance against him. I just started to unironically lose my mind. Fortunately, I knew it was only a matter of time. I just had to bite the bullet and pray for one lucky attempt. And thank goodness I did. Finally! Oh, what a dog game, holy sh... With Supersonic unlocked, we have our final track ahead of us. In space? Return Emerald has got to be the most roller coaster-like track in the game. You either eat complete dust, or you get so far ahead that when the AI notices, they start zooming like never before, making you go from first place to fourth place in just a few seconds. But why? Well, Return Emerald is the most straightforward track in the game, with no tokens, no emeralds, and no iron panels. Plus, having such a long path of just holding W really shows how slow Amy is. This might seem like the end of the challenge, but we still have an ace up our sleeve. Previously, the rune gates were only served to get collectibles, but with no more goodies to collect, they turn into shortcuts. These shortcuts are not only insane time savers, but one of them is unique, as it has an accelerator in it. In the end, I figured that my only chance of winning was by grabbing every single ring I could get, then unlocking all the shortcuts ASAP, and having at least 50 rings in the last lap. Needless to say, it was gonna be close. And folks, that's the end of the challenge, as well as the end of this video. Sonic R is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I love this game with every inch of my soul, and I promised myself I would make a challenge for this game before I turn to dust. I have so many memories of playing this game growing up, especially with my brother. I don't mind making another challenge run of Sonic R with Egg Robo or Tails Doll, but I'm still trying to figure out something unique and entertaining for you guys to watch. So just give me some time. Next video, however, will be at the end of August. I hope. It'll be about a horror game involving a silly bear with a hat. Not one of the main games, but one of my favorite fun games out there. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, liking, and dropping your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care guys, bye bye!